What's up, Kettlebell Kings? This is Martinez, about to go live right here. Let's start this. We got it. Awesome. Always that initial fun getting things going. What's going on? This is Marcus, and here we are about to do our full body circuit. I know, this is always the fun, awkward part. We're all good. We're all good. So what you're gonna need a couple different kettlebells. So ideally, in a perfect world, and you have this beautiful setup here, you will be able to use some double kettlebells. So the way I've structured this full body circuit is we're gonna start off with double kettlebells, and then the second or the third and the fourth round, I'll take it to single kettlebells. So that way, if you don't have double, I'll show you how you can still get a fantastic workout with just one belt. What's up, John? Good to see you on there. All right, so we'll start off with a quick warm-up, and then we'll get through this. So we've got 6 different exercises. We're gonna go 4 rounds through. So the first 2 rounds is gonna require double kettlebells. The last 2 rounds will be single kettlebell. In terms of weights, this is a common issue, and I just want to address it right now, is that the amount of times that people are like, oh, I can do everything with this one kettlebell, and that's fantastic, and there's so much you can do with a single kettlebell, but it would be in your best interest to have more, so that way you can progressively overload and you can actually apply the proper load for the exercise that you're doing. So if you're doing presses and that's just challenging for you, and then you go into rows and it's really light, then you're not going to get the most benefit from the workout. So make sure you're picking the appropriate weight for the exercise you're doing. I know it seems so obvious, but the amount of times I would have people message me on certain programs and be like, oh, this was a really easy workout. I'm like, well, we're using a 12K for everything? Because then maybe that's the case. So apply some logic there, pick a weight that's going to challenge you for the exercises, or if there's a technical gap, maybe you don't understand how to do some of those movements, then let's break it down and make sure that you're doing the one that's best for you. All right, we're going to start off with 3 different mobility drills just to start things off. These are my 3 go-tos, and I just really enjoy doing them, and it kind of primes me for the workout. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go into some shoulder packing drills. So we're going to do some shoulder rotations. So what I want you to do is I want you to lift up your shoulders, I want you to elevate, I want you to protract, so you're pushing your shoulders forward. I want you to depress, drop your shoulders, and then I want you to retract, so pull your shoulders back. So you're just going to go into this almost like a freaking steam train. Is that a steam train? Anyway, we're just going to go back and forth here. And what I like about this drill is that not only are we just prepping the shoulders, getting everything nice and warm, but it also reinforces that shoulder packing. So we've taken shoulder packing to an excessive level where like everything, you're like, oh, I gotta pack my shoulder. Not necessary. Only for ballistic exercises do I really want to make sure that I keep things nice and retracted, keep those lats engaged. Because if I'm loading things ballistically, I want to make sure that connection is there. If I'm pressing, if I'm rowing, then it's okay for a bit more scapular movement. Otherwise, I want to lock everything into place. So you hear this, you might have heard this before, packing your shoulders. Okay, nice and simple. That just means pack them and depress them. So drop your shoulders, pull your shoulders back. That's how I want you to feel. So it's almost like your arm just goes right into your body. There's no shoulder there. That's going to help you stay safe when we start getting ballistic. All right, both directions. Next one we're going to do some hinges. So we're going to combine that posterior anterior tilt. So that way we're not having to break those down. But what I want you to do is I want you to unlock the pelvis, get a nice arch through your lower back, drive your hips back, load those hamstrings, and then as you come forward, drive your feet through the ground, stand up nice and tall, get into that posterior tilt. So we're just gonna go back and forth here. In that nice, simple hinge, where if you're new to kettlebells, you're not just bending over, you're actively driving your hips back and down, and keeping shoulders above the hips so you're not swinging, going like, oh, I love this. I can totally feel my lower back. And then at the top of the movement, you're not hyperextending and going into this position where you're putting a lot of pressure on the lower back. So just stand nice and tall. So regardless of if we're doing swings, clean snatches, any kind of explosive hip extension, I just want you to think about getting that posterior tilt, standing nice and tall, and then getting into that nice, strong hinge. And last one, we'll do some rotations with a full pivot. So full pivot on that foot. And then we'll come back to that first exercise. So You can spend as much time as you like focusing on full body mobility. You can do whatever you want. But I like to be relatively specific with my joint mobility drills and take a little bit of time to really focus on them. And then I will like to do full body mobility stuff just as a way to take inventory. How is everything feeling? I don't want to start pushing through some, ballistic pressing, push presses and jerks if my overhead mobility is just sucking that day. So it's a great way to take inventory. So for you coaches out there, it's a great way for you to give your client the ability to understand different positions, like this one. So we're understanding that shoulder packing drill, but we're turning it into a mobility drill as well. Same thing with the hinge. We're understanding that hinge pattern. We're understanding that tension through the pelvic floor, not just, all right, let's go ahead and do some swing. How many times have you seen people just grab a belt and start swinging? Like, I've seen some shit, man. I've seen some stuff. I wasn't explicitly told that I couldn't be explicit, so my apologies, Garrett, if you're like, yo, no cussing. And rotations. So we'll start off with the first drill. I'm going to keep this timed just because then I don't have to think about reps while I'm doing this. But I'll have it laid out there with reps if you would like it as more of like, I'm going to do this later and I don't feel like setting a timer or I don't have a timer. But for this, we'll do time stuff. All right. So the first one we're going to start off with, we're going to do seesaw presses. So I'm going to keep this relatively simple, not too flowy, not crazy. We're going to keep it pretty simple. And then, of course, if you have any questions, I'll try to come on here, ask or answer those through the rest periods. But we're going to keep this anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds on per movement, and then the same for the rest. So ideally, in a perfect world, I'd rather spend a little bit more time on the rest period so I can really apply as much intensity and intention to each exercise. But for the purposes of this, we'll keep it a little bit faster pace. All right, so we'll start off with seesaw press. We're gonna go for 30 seconds. Ready, rack it up. As I was doing that, I thought I was gonna smash my watch, but I very smartly turned it around. So with the seesaw press, all this implies is as one bell is coming down, one bell is coming up. So I'm always keeping tension the entire time. If this is too difficult, you can always alternate it, bring one down, press up the other. But I really like that reciprocating movement where one's coming down, the other's coming up, and I really have to engage throughout my entire torso. Whew. All right, next up, double cleans. So nice and simple, which is not as simple, actually. This is not a simple exercise. We've gotten to the point now where because of flow and all these things, people take these very complex exercises, myself included, and like, all right, we're gonna do swings. There's a lot going on there. All right, double cleans, ready, go. So main thing here, if you're brand new to kettlebells, just notice how tight the bells are to my body as I'm coming up, so they rotate around the forearm. If you're a little bit more seasoned, you can kind of play around with the grip. Personally, I like a neutral grip where hands face each other, thumbs forward. As long as you understand that you're extending that elbow, straightening that arm on the way down. You're not coming down with a bent elbow. Whew. No matter how good that pump feels in the bicep. So all that means is neutral grip. You can rotate in whatever feels more comfortable for you. I like neutral grip because then as I come up, it just feels more natural for the bells to rotate around. Oh, all right. Next up, we got alternating reverse lunge. So I'm gonna stand nice and tall. I'm gonna make sure as I come down, knees are pointing out over toes. I don't care if you use slant board or you wanna get into crazy knee flexion, we're gonna keep it, I'm gonna stop saying we're gonna keep it simple for now. Stand nice and tall. So if you have a couple pairs of kettlebells, this would be a good opportunity. Go lighter on the seesaw presses, maybe moderate on those cleans because you're using momentum. Go heavier on the lunges. Making sure you're owning each position. There we go. Love me some lunges. Next up, we're going to do some Renegade rows. Okay, so only do Renegade rows if you have weights that are at least comparable heights and have a very solid base. I have seen people do renegade rows with very light kettlebells. It didn't end well. It didn't end well for anybody. Tilt this down just a bit. Oops, sorry. All right. Renegade row. So as I'm doing this, I want you to focus on planting that hand. Focus on the planted hand. Don't worry about the arm that's coming up at first. I want you to think about that connection to the ground. And that's going to ensure that you stay nice and stable and you got a strong foundation. Once that feels good, then you can focus on pulling that elbow back towards the hip. So you'll see that with rows. People pulling vertically, getting their forearm in a weird angle. Pull up and back, up and back. All right, next up, we got racked marches. So we're gonna bring both bells up and we're gonna do a march. If the weight is really light, pause for a second. Pause for a second each time. Ready. Bring it up. So I'll pause for just a second. I love incorporating marches. More farmer walks, carries, racked carries. Great way to engage your entire torso. And reinforce that rack position. So again, you can add in that pause, squeeze, keep that nice alignment. Last one in this circuit, since it's full body circuit, right? That's what we were going for. We're gonna go double outside the leg swings. So if swings are really new for you, just hit the pause button on that. I would rather you do RDLs, where you can still load the posterior, but you're not having to move quickly. Then you can manipulate how fast you go. So if double outside the swing or outside the leg swings are new, all I want you to do, I want you to do explosive RDLs. So you're gonna still pattern the same movement, driving the hips back, stand up tall explosively, really get into that posterior tilt. If you know how to swing, then it's time to go ham. We're gonna double outside the leg swings. We'll go for about 20 seconds. All right, ready to go. So main thing here is you're still performing that same movement pattern. So I'm not just swinging my arms, as much fun as that is. I'm actively driving my hips back. I'm driving through the ground, standing up tall, being explosive. So a few things with that. Make sure you have a narrow enough grip, obviously. But, narrow enough stance. So I'm not obviously super wide. I want to be pretty narrow here. But for my clients, when we started doing a lot of outside the leg swings, my clients felt that it took a lot of the pressure off their lower backs, even though we're obviously still putting pressure on the lower back. But when we widen the hip and we lose that balance, or we create a little bit more imbalance, it makes it a little bit harder, and it still definitely puts a lot more tension on the lower back. When we go very narrow stance, that allows me to really sit back, and also I can dictate how high the bells go. So maybe that first few, all I'm doing is understanding how to keep my arms tucked. So kind of like a compact outside the leg swing. And then I can always go further and further. Oh, all right, let's take a little break. See if there's any questions. So we got round 2 of the double kettlebells coming up, and then we'll hit the single kettlebell. And with the single kettlebell, it'll be same thing, but we're just gonna do one bell. People don't understand how hard it is. Yo, one time I was doing a men's health live, and this guy was like, why are you so out of breath? Why are you so out of... I'm like, yo, I'm trying to work out. I'm trying to talk as I'm doing this. Like, go for a run and talk to somebody. Tell me how that goes. See if there's any questions. If you're new to kettlebells, if you have any questions on any of the movements, let me know. I'd love to help you out. I've been doing kettlebell courses, teaching kettlebell certs since 2011. So I've been doing this for quite some time. I've gone through multiple types of training, and not to say when, and this is where I get very passionate about kettlebells, in not being dogmatic and saying this is one way, the only way, because I was dogmatic. I was like, this is the way, and I thought that was the best way. And there were aspects of it that were great, but then there was things as I progressed in my training, that things I thought I knew, all of a sudden didn't make sense anymore. So just be open-minded. If you're brand new to kettlebells, there's definitely a place that you can start, and I would love to help you. Anyway, all right, round 2, we're gonna go double one more time, and then we'll take it to single. We're gonna start off seesaw press. So again, if I wanna make this even more intense, I can slow things down. I can pause in the middle. Oh, that just straight up sucks. Right back at it. The entire time I am cracking that walnut. Where that walnut is, it's up to the imagination. Spoiler alert, it's my butt cheeks. Keep my butt cheeks really tight. So keeping everything nice and engaged so that way I have that strong foundation that I can press off of. But I really like seesaw, anything, seesaw rows, seesaw presses, seesaw floor presses. Just puts a ton of tension on your torso. All right, double cleans. Ready, set, go. Oh, just kidding, time. This timer. All right, so now the issue with the grip, so if you're finding that you're coming up a little too soon, that can happen if you have that neutral grip. So that's where a slight rotation will be helpful, because with that slight rotation, that'll promote that rotation on the way up with the clean. So that bell should just land so gently, just kissing the forearm. Ever so gently. Oh. And I know I've talked about this so many times, and so many great coaches talk about this all the time with the clean. Just make sure it's not slamming. All that means is that you're probably gripping the bell too tight, or you're letting that bell come too far in front of you. So keep it tight, keep it loose. I will not say that's what you, anyway, all right, back into alternating reverse lunge. So stand up nice and tall, ready. So I'm gonna drive that knee back, touch the ground, and then right back. So we always think, all right, keep that front foot, or the front knee facing out over toe. Same goes for the foot. Don't let that back leg start to rotate in any other direction. Drive off of that big toe, drive off the ball of your foot. So that way you can really have a lot of support. Oh, what time? All right, back in Renegade rows. Take a little breather, enjoy the process, enjoy the workout, enjoy the sweat. I want you to enjoy the fact that I've color coordinated for you. That was absolutely intentional. All right, ready. Back in Renegade rows. So if you want to make this even more challenging, as you pull up, lift up that opposite leg. As you pull to the left, lift up the right. Oh, man. Woo! Now there's a lot more support needed. If that's plenty, just go in regular. If that's too hard, just bring your feet forward and you can still get some of that benefit. And time. Back into rack marches. If your weights are really light, you can absolutely do bottoms up rack position, which I love bottoms up. That's one of my favorite positions with the kettlebell. And that just creates a ton of tension through your shoulder, through your lat, through your entire upper back. So bring them both up, you can go right into. So only do this if your weights are relatively light and you feel like you have complete control. And stay up nice and tall. Like I said, you can always pause, add some more tension, create some more balance requirements. Breathe through that. Focus on the breath. And time. All right. That's fine. I'm having a good time. So that was the circuit with double kettlebells. For all you single kettlebell people out there, I'll take it into single work. So let's see. Anybody doing the workout right now? Is anybody just like, nah, it's beer o'clock. I'm sorry. Maybe later. So we're going to take the same relative movements and then we'll put them into some single bell work. So the only one that would be probably the most complex would be the outside the leg swings. So with that outside leg swing, now, because you're gonna be doing it unilaterally, really focus on driving your feet, your body into the ground. So you have a lot of connection. That should go without saying for any ballistic exercise, but particularly with that signal bell, because it's gonna be very easy, even with a moderate weight, it's gonna pull you off. I'm glad I did this during jackhammer day. You can hear that. I got my 6-year-old jackhammer, so they're just playing the jackhammer outside. All right, so we're gonna start off with a 2-hand press. I don't personally love 2-hand press holding the bell with 2 hands, but the way I like to do it is handle in one hand, bell portion in the other. So it's gonna be a little bit more unilateral. You're gonna focus more on one side, and then we'll switch to the other side. So you could just do single arm presses, but I want to give you a little bit more support on it. So for one round, we'll just have bell in the left hand, handle in the left hand, bell in the right hand. Bring it up. So as I press, I'm going to press towards one side. So I can press right up the middle if I want to, but I'm going to press towards the bell side. Since we're doing 2 rounds, we'll switch it off, do the other side. But what this is going to do, this is going to allow you to go a little bit heavier. And it's, in my opinion, a little bit more support than if you're just holding the handles or holding the horns. It feels way less awkward. Like if you're holding it like this and you're doing 2 hand presses, I don't love those. It just feels really weird. All right, next up, we're going to do alternating dead stop cleans. So while that's going to work, bell's going to start off in front as if we were doing a traditional clean. You're going to do the hike, you're going to do the clean, you're going to do the drop, then come right to the ground, switch sides. Hike, clean, hike, drop, and we'll just alternate back and forth. Hike, clean, hike, switch, hike, clean, hike, switch. So this allows me to balance out the load, because what people typically forget when we're doing unilateral work, let's say you're doing a lot of heavy cleans on one side, and then immediately go on the other side, just because you tax that arm doesn't mean you haven't taxed your back, your shoulders, nervous system's all going, so it should be going to your side. But this allows you to really balance things out. And it's going to be far less complicated than doing like a clean switch, but a little bit more complicated than an alternating dead start clean. All right. This one's one of my favorites now. We're going to do an alternating reverse lunge. So the reverse lunge, you're going to hold the bell with your right side. You're going to lunge back to the right side. So we do an offset contralateral lunge. As you come up, switch and come back down. So you can do it a little bit more ballistic, or you can slow it down. I'll show you both. All right, so controlled, nice and controlled, a little bit more ballistic, where I'm switching almost with a little catch where the bell is weightless for just a second. But again, depending on the weight you're using, you might not want to do that. And with that offset lunge, it just requires a little bit more tension, a little bit more control. You're going to feel a little more unbalanced. So makes it a little bit more intense with a lighter weight. All right, next up, we're going to alternating pull through. So instead of the Renegade rows, we're going to do the pull through from that quadruped position. I like this one because there's just so much going on. We're getting some pulling in, we're working cross body, but we're still getting a lot of anterior work. Core, shoulders, chest, tricep, all that. So we're going to stay nice and tight in that quadruped position, and I'm very controlled, just going to slide or lift up the bell, put it right back. So I can make it way faster, way more ballistic, a lot of movement, or I can really focus on that control. So it's not quite a row, I'm not getting that full range of motion, but it is going to challenge you. I like that. Feeling good? Yeah, Marcus, not feeling great. Oh, that's awesome out there. Keep it up. You're doing great. All right, for this one, so instead of a rack march, which you can do because we'll go both sides, We're gonna keep both hands on the bell. We're gonna do a high hold position. So I'm gonna hold the bell by the horns. I'm gonna have my upper arm parallel to the ground. I'm gonna hold this position, and then I'm gonna perform the marches. So this makes it significantly more challenging. I'm getting some front delt in there, definitely some upper back, definitely some lower back if I'm not keeping enough tension. I gotta keep those arms up. This exercise will humble the crap out of you. All of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can't just sink into the rack position. I have to hold this bell up. Oh my goodness. I made a huge mistake with that one. I'm telling you, you probably heard it a million times over. Keep your core tight. You want to make sure when you're doing anything front-loaded heavy, anything ballistic, you want to maintain that intra-abdominal tension. That's going to balance the load. Otherwise, if you're anterior loaded, front side loaded, you're holding something heavy, all that pressure is on your lower back. Then you add in swings, then you add in snatches, and you wonder why your lower back hurts. A lot of times with programming, I see people put a lot of front squats because it's a knee-dominant squatting pattern, and then they'll go right into swings. And for some people, that's too much lower back work. So balancing out push and pull, balancing out front-loaded, back-loaded will help alleviate some of those issues. And with kettlebells, people get really excited about them, and they want to start doing all the fun exercises, swings, cleans, snatches, get-ups, all this stuff, not realizing we still need to apply some logic to that programming. All right, so for the swing, we're gonna do alternating. This will be the most complicated thing. So if you're, again, new to kettlebells, all you're gonna do is a single leg or single arm deadlift like this. You're gonna do a deadlift, and then you're gonna switch to each side. So we're still patterning that hinge. We're maintaining that tension. We're understanding that the bell is not gonna rotate us because we're gonna fight that rotation, that anti-rotation. But if you're KB Pro, which chances are pretty good that you are, we're gonna do outside the leg swings with an alternating position. So as that bell comes up, we're gonna switch, come to one side. So make sure you got that deadlift first, then you have the single arm swing on the outside, then you can get into this one. All right, ready? And so the first thing that pops up with this one is, Marcus, you're gonna take out your knees. Like, yo, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I have yet to do that. Maybe we'll do this on the live, and someone will enjoy it. But if you are new, just practicing this outside the leg, you will see a very light weight become extraordinarily challenging. Your obliques, your deep abs, your transverse, your lower back, everything is going to be engaged. Whew. And it's going to be engaged in a way that you would only be able to replicate with very heavy weight. So just again, another fun way to challenge yourself. My goal with these, with my lives, with my page, is to show you what's possible with kettlebells. When I started putting kettlebell videos out there back in friggin' 2008, there was nothing out there. So I was like, okay, I want to showcase things beyond just the basic movements. Not to say that novelty or doing new things is the end game, but it's just a way to think outside the box and look at exercises slightly differently. So maybe instead of just doing swings ad nauseum, maybe we switch it up. We do staggered swings, rotational swings, outside the leg swings, dead stop swings, high swings, compact swings. I feel like bubble gum right now. There's a lot of things you can do with this. But I just don't like the mentality of do this one thing, that's all you need. It's a very closed-minded thing. That's like saying all you need are the power lifts, all you need are barbells, all you need is your body weight. Everybody is guilty of doing this, myself included at times. So, all right, that's the only rant I'm gonna do. Yeah, right. All right, last set, 2-hand press. So now the handle's gonna be my right hand, the bell portion is gonna be my left. Woo! Marcus is sweaty. Marcus likes to talk to himself in the third person. Full range of motion, but if you get to that top position and you find that you're breaking at your lower back or at your mid back, then just go as high as you feel comfortable where you can still keep that nice alignment. You can even stagger it. You can add some rotation to it. Like I said, it's just a slightly different stimulus on the overhead pressing pattern. All right, alternating dead stop clean. So I showed you the first way where started on the ground. On this one, we're gonna do a switch clean, which I really like this exercise. I use it a lot, and I had a great conversation with Aaron Guyette yesterday just about flow and how to access flow with very simple transitions. And something like this, the switch clean, is a great thing that you can incorporate for your strength workouts, but as a way to start accessing flow and start to get into being able to transition. Because that's all flow is, it's just transitions. We like to think it's like a bunch of crazy stuff, but it's really not. So this is the switch clean where I'm pulling up, and get a close up here. As I'm pulling up, I'm letting go, I'm rotating my torso slightly, catching with the other hand. So if you've got this down, you can do just about any level of flow, because now you can incorporate any traditional movement patterns, you can incorporate any exercises you like. You can start getting heavy with it. You can start adding that staggered position. You can start adding rotation. You can start adding a step. You can just start having some fun with it. This notion that you have to only use kettlebells in one way is so ridiculously outdated. I can't tell you. All right, back to those pull-throughs. I'll talk a little bit more about those transitions and stuff on another live. Ready, into the pull-throughs. Set. Just kidding, into the lunges. Come on, I knew that. We're gonna do that switch each time. So start off, we're doing offset lunge. So holding the bell on the right, same side comes back, and then switch hands. So you can definitely go a little bit heavier on this if you like. If you want to keep it more of a conditioning style workout, which is kind of what we're doing right now, then you can go for it. But I really like using the heavier bells, the monster bells with stuff like this, just because, I mean, again, word functional is so overused, but to me, being able to offset lunge, a 125-pound bell, like the amount of full body strength you get from that, get out of here. All right, now into the pull-throughs. Ready. And quadruped, so I'm gonna pull. Now if I wanna get a little bit more creative, then each time I pull, I'm just gonna find a new spot. So I'm still staying in that relatively low quadruped position, but now I'm getting a little bit more creative of where that bell's going. So it almost becomes like a flow. I'm going 2 times. Oh, it's just getting wild. So for me, that's just a way more fun way of doing, planks or any kind of front-loaded just holds. And I'm getting sweaty here. All right, high rack march. Made a huge mistake with this one. So rack it up, 2-hand rack, bring it up tall, and into that march. So if you're already doing a lot of pressing in your workout, or you're doing a lot of heavy pressing, be mindful of how much you're taxing your shoulders. Again, we get very excited about doing snatches and get-ups and cleans and presses and bottoms up stuff that we don't think about. Well, we got to create some balance with our workouts. We don't want to overly tax one particular area, which with kettlebells, it's going to be low back and shoulders. All right, last one, and then I'll see if there's any questions, but if not, feel free. I'll be on here for a few more minutes before I get a call that my 1-year-old is going absolutely apeshit. All right, last one, ready. Alternating outside the leg swings. So I'm gonna add in just a step here, just to make it a little bit more dynamic. Remember, same rules apply. I'm keeping that tension, abs tight. I'm avoiding any extra rotation. I'm driving through the hips. I'm not just swinging my shoulders. I can make it a little bit deeper, or I can shallow it up, or I can just go right into 2-hand swings. So like I said, I just want to give you some variations there. Holy snaps, it is hot in here. So that was the workout. A lot to save on here. Like I said, it was double focus, but if you didn't have 2 kettlebells, that was a single version as well. So that way you can kind of get the best of both worlds. If you're new to kettlebells, what exercises are you having some issues with? What things do you not understand? Maybe you're still calling a kettlebell. That's totally fine. We've all been there. Let's see. People want to start. Yeah, I already answered that one. Yeah. Especially when it's freaking 80 degrees, not even that hot, but it's effing humid as heck over here. In California, it's like freaking Miami. Although, shout out to Miami. I love Miami. How heavy? These are 16Ks, so these are 35-pound kettlebells. So this was a conditioning focus, but as I say in all these, you can absolutely manipulate the load, the tempo, the rest periods, so you can make it more strength-based. I wish my garage, you see the other side of garage. This is like the one area that I'm like, this is my area. Nobody's stuff is allowed in here. I have 4 kids, so they try like, oh, we're gonna put this in the garage. Well, you are. All right, with you. Thanks, Aaron. So, like I said, if you got any questions, I'll stay on for a few more minutes and just answer your KB stuff. There's some great coaches out there that have some awesome material. I mean, I'm a little bit biased when it comes to the kettlebells. Kettlebell Kings is my go-to. Appreciate all the joins, all the stuff. I don't see anything else on there, so that step back absolutely. All right, so y'all are kettlebell pros. That's fantastic. You must have taken the courses already. So hope you enjoyed. Like I said, if you are one of those people that's like, all right, you're brand new to kettlebells, definitely start somewhere where there is a foundation where you can focus on the basics so you understand just the basic movement patterns. Being able to ballistically hinge, being able to clean, being able to press, all that stuff. And then from there, you can start playing around with things. But even when I was teaching courses exclusively, I would always tell people, go through as many different courses as you can. Try different courses so you can start seeing the similarities, but also you can start picking up things that you like in different cues. Like I can give my client 10 cues, but it's the 11th one that would have really cemented that movement. So it's never going to hurt you to learn from multiple coaches, multiple types of coaches, people who have very differing beliefs in how to use that tool. That's only going to expand what you can do with this tool and help you as a coach and a practitioner so that you can get more from this. Nothing breaks my heart more. I mean, there's lots of things break my heart more, but nothing bugs me more when it comes to kettlebells when you see someone just doing the same thing. Now, on the flip side of that, doing things that they're not ready for or doing things that are way outside the scope of their abilities, that's crazy too. So play around with it, treat yourself as the experiment, start just getting better at these different things, have a goal of what you want to accomplish, and then that's going to help you kind of line up with what coaches you like, what training style you like. Do you want to get into sport? Do you want to do hard style? Do you want to do flow? Do you want to do just basic movements? Do you want to use it as a doorstop? More power to you. So I just want to make sure that you're using the tool to the best of your abilities. So, all right, that's all I got. My name's Marcus, and you first by YouTube.